Hello YouTube, and welcome on this fine day, and today we are going to have a look at my top 15 historic Brawl decks to play in the upcoming FNM at home event. First and foremost, all the decks I'm talking about are linked in the description. I will probably not put these deck list into the description like in a full deck format, but I would rather link it to a site because otherwise the description gets really cluttered. And I'm also having examples for every deck in the description and for videos. Like, I have made videos on all of these decks, and I will just link the videos on there if you want to have more details on how to play the deck and whatnot, right? Another thing to consider is that this list is mainly composed of decks that are not available in Standard Brawl, with 3 exceptions, right? Because I just want a healthy mix of decks, basically. Also, there are a few budget decks that are super budget, and yeah, basically a variety of things. I hope you enjoyed the list. Let's jump right into the first deck and I hope you will enjoy it. The first 3 decks I'm going to talk about are the most popular Standard Brawl decks, with their historic historic Brawl counterparts being updated. And the first one is Kinnan the Prodigy. He gains a few really nice fatties from going historic in Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger and Crater of Behemoth, while also having really good mana dogs with Llanowar Elves and Mox Amber, and really nice and cheap interaction. Like, most of the counterspells here are historic only, right? With a Swan Song, Spell Pierce, Pact of Negation, you name it. Yeah, this list just is really fast, aims to produce 7 mana by turn 3, usually, to activate Kinnan, and pull ahead from there. The next list we are going to have a look at is the counter-spell-less Nicol Bolas list we have here. This deck aims to win by just having really cheap and a lot of early interaction, and in fact this deck destroys the Kinnan list I've just showed you. The reason why we're not playing counterspells is so we can proactively get rid of threats and then drop Nicol Bolas, because like having a 5-mana Planeswalker and that like counterspells up at the same time, that doesn't really work out. But what we do have is around like 6-7 board wipes that we can just whip around like crazy, like they're candy. We just board wipe, and pick at their hand, control the board, and just win by having a lot of Planeswalkers. Also, Grim Tutor gets Fires of Invention 90% of the time, because that card is absolutely nuts in this deck. The last one of the upgraded standard list is going to be Niv-Mizzet Reborn, and this deck is just what you expect out of the deck. The real benefit from going into Historic Brawl is the mana base. It is just beautiful. The consistency is really nice, and yeah. As for the deck itself, this version is really light on actual threats and plays a lot of removal, but you can go into the more removal heavy like side of things. It is a really like flexible deck than what you want to do, right? You can put cards in it and you will draw the cards and you can play the cards. Yeah, you can use your own imagination what you can do, and yeah, just the cheap discard spells and mana dogs are recommended though to have the additional fixing. And the specific mana base here is tuned to these colors, so if you are like making heavy changes, you may want to look at the mana base again. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. The next deck we're going to take a look at is Bruvac the Grandiloquent Petitioner Mill. This deck is basically the deck when you want to say, I don't want to spend anything on this format, I just want a few quick wins and I'm out. And this is exactly what this deck does. You can cut pretty much all the rares and mythics from the decks, because this current version runs 2 mythics and 3 rares. Spark Double can be replaced with a Petitioner, Mox Amber can be cut for a land, Ventress can be an island, and Swan Song is a bit more difficult to replace, right? And you kind of need the commander. But other than that, yeah, you can usually mill, like if you go for the fast start, you mill out the opponent by turn 5. No deck, basically, and have a few options to go a bit slower and have counterspell backup. Hope you enjoy it. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, is probably my favorite deck to play in Historic Brawl because it is just a control monster. The deck plays a lot of instant speed interaction at 2 mana to utilize the ability of Hero of Dominaria and the plus ability specifically, and just wants to ultimate him as quickly as possible. Almost no win conditions, and if everything else fails, you can minus him to tuck himself into the deck. And yeah, you just control the game like from turn 2 onwards, and it's just lovely. Just lovely. And ImNotFine brought a few nice additions with Wrath of God, and yeah, it's a nice deck to play if you like hard control. Speaking of hard control, the Scarab God is probably the grindiest deck on this list. There is a reason why I am usually making 1 hour videos, with the exception for my Scarab God video with 1 hour 50 minutes or something like that for 4 games. This deck grinds. If you enjoy really long game, this Scarab God list is for you. It's a light mix of Reanimator and Control, and can just get cards back and over like multiple Agent of Treacheries and steal everything, and it is a pleasure to play and a pleasure to pilot. It's just goes into the distance very well, and some nice tech cards like Thought Distortion can catch other control decks really by surprise, and then you can flash that just back with Scholar of the Lost Trove. And yeah, really nice grindy deck, and Scarab God is probably one of the most popular Historic Brawl commanders, I'd imagine. We are going to get into the aggressive side of things, starting off with Ghalta Primal Hunger, and this deck just stomps. It is mono green stompy, Ghalta Primal Hunger as the commander. This usually comes down turn 4, occasionally on turn 3, and this deck is like kind of resilient against control decks in a way, because a few of our like threats are really annoying for them to deal with, like Loathsome Chimera comes back and back, Carnage Tyrant, or like Vine Mare and the Shifting Ceratops just can make quick work out of any control deck, and like really hard to deal with creatures, combined with the fact that they do have to somehow answer the turn 4. Like if this deck like is unchecked, lethal is usually around the corner on turn 5, right? Sometimes turn 4, but it's just really annoying to deal with, and also your creatures are pretty much bigger than any other deck. Like this is huge creatures, right? And especially at the 3 mana slot, 1, 2, 3, 4 mana, like Ghalta on 4, and just stomp. Speaking of mono green, here we have Selvala, Heart of the Wilds, and look who's in the 59. It is Ghalta Primal Hunger. This time to be sacked though to cards like Momentous Fall, and or like use that with Return of the Wilds, because to draw a huge amount of cards, and Selvala just nets us that mana by getting untapped over and over again. We can go into infinite mana combos with Kogla, Hyrex, Taurus, Scout, and Selvala. And yeah, our usual finisher is getting a lot of mana and slapping that Crater of Behemoth onto the battlefield. Yeah, this is more of a Storm style deck, or like combo deck, than it is a mono green stompy, but it is a joy to play. Speaking about fun to play, this is the deck if you don't want your opponents to have fun playing the game. This deck, monoblack discard with Tinybones, Trinket Thief at the head, aims to do exactly what the deck's name suggests, right? Discarding all the cards, starving them out of resources, and getting them to a point where they can't do anything. Yeah, just Tinybones' ability allows us to pull ahead while doing so. And yeah, the deck is a blast to play, and yeah, you can do fun, cute little stuff like Emergence Zone and Flash in an Obliterator to make their life miserable. I hope you enjoy the list, and let's jump straight into the next one. And to stay on topic with flashing things into play, we have Inniaz Gale Force Flash Flyers, mostly consisting out of blue cards, having 90% blue. And yeah, basically this deck cut almost all of the good like flyers on the anthem effects, and really went hard on the flash part. This plays like a mix of Simic Flash and monoblue control, monoblue tempo, I'm sorry. And yeah, it is lovely to play. Like, you play one drop, then protect it a bit, drop a Staggering Insight, a Curiosity, Curious Obsession, Sea Dasher Octopus, whatnot onto it, and then you can slowly build your board, get through 2-3 creatures, drop Inniaz, and then swap your aura that you have on the creature with a valuable permanent that they have, and the aura stays on them. It is really evil and quite flashy. If you just want to relax and don't want to think too much about what you're doing, you can just get into mono red with Hazoret the Fervent. This deck pretty much empties the hand blazingly fast and can sometimes just play Hazoret on 4 on curve and attack, which is quite rare for a historic Brawl deck, because we are lacking a lot of good 1-drops, like in multiples, right? Because we can't just play 4 copies of Fervent Champion into the deck. That's not how it works. We obviously play good red cards like Tauren, Thane of Redfell, and you can also make a Tauren deck, but you would switch the rest of the list a bit up. But yeah, for the most part you can swap the commander, have a similar result, but this specific list is really like catered towards Hazoret, and you can see that in the choices like Blood Rage Brawler to really empty the hand fast. I hope you enjoyed, and let's jump straight into the next deck. This deck is Kenrith combo, and oh boy, I don't think 1 minute is enough to talk nearly enough about this deck. This deck is a very, very, very complex combo deck with around like 20 something plus infinite combos that you can go into, and you just aim to go infinite mana with Kenrith the Return King and then kill the opponent with that. I would highly recommend you to check out the description to have a list of all the combos, like the most important ones. And I've also, in the latest versions, added Linvala, Keeper of Silence, and Ravenous Chupacabra to have a bit more interaction, to go a bit more into the stacks direction. But yeah, sometimes you just go infinite mana on turn 4, and sometimes you just go a bit slower than that. And it is a really flexible deck, and a bunch of tutor combos, and it is something. It is really something. It's beautiful. If you enjoy combo gameplay but just don't want to go infinite, just do enough, right? The Kykar Storm is probably the deck for you. This deck is pretty complex as well to play, and yeah, Kykar Storm is just lovely. We usually, like, if unchecked, win on turn 5 by dropping Anointed Procession and having Kykar on board, and then every single spell we play nets us back 2 mana. And then we go into Underworld Breach shenanigans, recurring cheap spells from the graveyard over and over, netting mana, 1000-Year Storm, and just blast away. Yeah, this deck is very light on interaction, except face, you know, that the thing that matters? Yeah, this is what the deck is good at removing. We have a few extra turn spells, no Tail's End to back us up, because if we take an extra turn, we win. And if we don't and we have to counter it anyways, we lose anyways, so it's no big deal, right? Yeah, play Anointed Procession, play Kykar, win the game. Easy as that. If you are annoyed by the opponent always having the correct answers and you want to experience that yourself, Captain Sisay is the perfect deck for you, because this deck has the perfect answer to everything the opponent does from turn 4 onwards. Play Sisay on turn 3, activate on turn 4, and fetch the right answer to every single situation. Most of the time that does include Urza's Ruinous Blast, but sometimes it's just going face, and yeah, if you wait one more turn, the Godfather stature will usually close it out very, very quickly. Yeah, play Sisay, fetch the perfect card that you need, and that is Sisay for Historic Brawl. Last but certainly not least, we have Golgari Elfball with Umori the Collector as a commander. The reason why this is the commander because it gives us access to black and gives cost reduction to all our elves, but you can certainly do Elfball with a variety of commanders with Selvala, Rishkar, Marwyn, Nylea, but I like the black for the tutors and the discard spells. Yeah, this is a more traditional Elfball deck, not in a sense that we want to pump all of our creatures, but we really just want to play creator of and win the game as fast as possible. Yeah, you just you can basically swap out the commander to Nylea, go mono green and have a bit more of a resilient commander, or you just do your own thing with Marvin and more untappers. I hope you enjoyed the list. I really tried to make a very short and descriptive description to each and every single deck, right? And yeah, there are a ton of historic brawl decks I pretty much haven't mentioned, right? Like Max's Goblins and Chulane Cheerios and whatnot. If you're interested in any of those other decks, you can check out my channel. There are just a ton of decks to explore. As I said in the beginning, all of these decks that I mentioned are linked in the description together with a video to boot. And if you enjoyed the decks and if you enjoyed this video in particular, please leave a like, comment and subscribe to the channel. It would really help me out, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.